678. Hello, and welcome back to the Wild West Tennis Podcast, brought to you by QualityShot Tennis. Today, Craig O'Shaughnessy. You're probably familiar with him. If you've seen the movie Moneyball, well, he's tennis. Our version of Moneyball in analytics and data analysis, that is this man. But he's more than just that. He's a former college tennis player himself, an instructor. He's worked with the likes of Novak Djokovic, if you've heard of him. And I believe, Craig, you were with him for 4 majors from 17 to 19?
Exactly right.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a career in media and journalism. What don't you do in the tennis?
I don't hit the ball.
Yeah.
But I did play some padel this morning, and I did hit that ball around, and it's stinking hot in Melbourne already. So I greatly enjoy that.
Well, and you're also a big believer in. I think the best way for you to put it is, you don't even think there's such a thing as a unforced error.
There isn't.
Can we start with that, sir?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, flashback a week, probably 9 days. I'm in Munich. I'm speaking at the German Coaches Conference. There's 800 coaches in this auditorium, and I put up 10 points from the John Millman Rafael Nadal US Open match a few years ago, 2019, I believe. And so
You're right.
I put 1 point up. And then on their phone, we had a QR code where the coach was able to log into a page, and we had 10 points there, and they had to vote whether it was forced or unforced. So they would watch a point, and then they would click the button, forced or unforced. We did all 10. Then we had them. Then I showed them the answer. So I said, let's see how long everybody in the room can stand up for. So everyone stands up. If you get it right, according to the tournament, according to the official stats, you stay standing. If you get it wrong, you sit. After 3, 800 went to 9. 800 went to 9. And then when you group them all and say, okay, as a group, you're deciding whether it was forced or unforced. They got 3 correct out of 10. And correct means the same evaluation as the official stats. So when we look at things that happen on a tennis court, we know 100% of the time, was that a forehand or was that a backhand? Was that a winner or was that an error? Was that a serve? Was that a return? Was that a ground stroke? Was that a volley? We know 100%. But when it comes to, was that a forced error or an unforced error, 800 German coaches can only agree on 3 out of 10. So it's a completely made up stat. It is unbelievably subjective. And if German coaches don't know what's going on, how in the world do the rest of us have any clue about what's going on? So it's a fake stat, and we need to get rid of it.
I just thought of something, Craig. Does that mean that a let court is a unforced winner?
It's a good point. I don't know.
What I mean?
I think well, they don't have an unforced winner, but yeah, I see where your head's up there.
Like
it could be.
They're going for an ace, but when people get a let court that can technically define as a winner, right? The guy doesn't touch it.
It would be a winner. It's exactly.
It's sort of, so you know what I mean? You're kind of making the point that, hey guys, it's a mistake, it's an error.
Winners and errors.
Yeah,
winners and errors is by far the best way. Well, when they looked at baseball and tried to take that over to tennis, errors in baseball happen, once a game at most, whereas in tennis, 70% of our sport is errors. So it was just the wrong thing to start with. Is that in baseball, an error maybe shouldn't happen. In tennis, it should happen, and it should happen every minute of the game. So
well, that's the I mean, I strategically, if you wouldn't be the first person in the world to win a tennis match without making a winner. You can allow your opponents to make errors. You don't have to, you could technically just hit winners. But you've really broken it down and that's kind of been your main. Well, you have a lot of main points. One of the things you also stress is that the big three only win 55% of the points in any given match.
That's exactly right. And not only that, it's a unusual stat because it pops up so much. So when you look at everybody in the Australian Open this year and collect all their points, and everybody that lost and collect their points, the difference between winning and losing is 55-45. It's also, when you look at the number one player in the world at the end of each season, they've also won 55% of their points. So, it's a way of explaining our sport in a few different ways. And, it's the difference between winning and losing. And it shows that there's a narrower gap than we think.
And is that something, obviously listeners will want to know, what was in your secret sauce that, enabled you to click so right off the bat with Novak. What was it that I know you've been interviewed a lot about that and him and how he wanted you to talk with him and explain it to him.
Mm-hmm.
What did you start with when you sat with him the first time?
Yeah, it was here at the Australian Open in 2017, and one of the early questions said, Novak, how can I best help you? And his answer was, Craig, I want three things from you. The first is to evaluate my game, because I'm sure there's things that I'm doing in a match that I think are probably right that statistically may not be. So he knew for a fact that, yes, he's a great player. Yes, he'd already won 11 slams at that time and spent a lot of time as the number one player in the world, but he knew that there was room for improvement and room to learn. And that was my first job, is to evaluate his game and figure out how to help him there. The second part was to do game plans for opponents. So every time he had an opponent, he had a match, he had maybe the opponent he's played before, maybe he hasn't, but it was to provide an updated evaluation and playbook on that opponent. So sometimes that would involve video of their play, certainly statistics, certainly serve patterns. So I did that. And then the third was a little bit extra for the guys that he was going to meet at the pointy end of the tournament, to keep the finger on the pulse of especially Rafa and Roger, and know where they're at. Definitely know where they're at all times.
Mm-hmm. To be sure. And it's interesting. One of the other things in researching how far you've come, since we first met, and I'll get back to that
Yes.
at the end of the interview. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to paraphrase. You place an incredible emphasis on statistics, but then you make a really strong connection to they're not as helpful without the video. You kind of need both. Mm-hmm. It was what I gleaned from the research.
Yeah, people often talk to me about, Craig, you're heavily involved in stats. You're the stats guy, and I'm really not. The stats are a form of a language. Like, we have Japanese. I look at Japanese. I can't understand anything, but I look at the numbers, and I can deeply understand what's happening in a tennis match. So the stats are where you start, and the stats lead you to the video, because there's so many more subtleties that you're able to pick up in the video. So video is really what it's about. It's about the strategy. It's about what's going on between the two players, and the video is more important to me than the statistics. But you start with the stats because you don't necessarily want to watch the whole match, and the statistics will pinpoint where you really need to look, where the match was won and lost.
You've also, in doing research about your work, that there's been a constant in tennis is that a lot of these statistics haven't changed throughout,
yes.
with the different eras, regardless of surface or technology of equipment or the players. The stats, for the most part, have held true. Is that what you found?
That's exactly right. I mean, I've got the tournament statistics for the first 32 matches. So day one is 32 matches.
This is this year's Australian Open? Or?
Right, this is live.
Okay.
This is live. Yeah. This year's Australian Open. Baseline points won is 47%. It's either 46 or 47. That's exactly the same. Net points won is actually in the first round a little higher. We're at 69%, but that's going to be between 65 to 69. Expect that to drop a little bit. And serve and volley points won at 71%, and they're typically around 70. So I've gone through this after day one. I've looked at all the statistics. First serves in are at 65%. That'll come down a little bit. Second serve points won are at 51%. That'll probably stay about the same. But all of these numbers are very, very similar to everything that I've seen in the last decade. There's some stats that are migrating a little bit and some that are staying exactly the same. And typically we feel that tennis is getting different, and maybe there's other statistics such as ball speed or ball spin or depth that we can quantify that. But your general normal statistics that are produced for matches, things are not changing at all.
It's funny you say that. I remember one time I was talking to a tennis teaching pro, and he said, and this would have been in the 90s, in doubles, this may be recreational, maybe it's pro. He said, Brad, if you miss your first serve, the serving team's percentage of winning the next point, second serve points, is 48%.
Okay.
Meaning that I don't, you're tracking singles statistics, but I thought, well, what he's trying to say is the statistics will tell you if you don't get your first serve in, you have less than a 50% chance of winning the point on your serve. What they're trying to say is, hey, get your first serve in doubles, kick it in, get it in. You know
exactly
what I
right.
mean?
And even in singles, we're at 51 right now. That could drop down. I've seen it at 49 in several slams. For the ladies, it's at 47%, which is high. That'll probably go to 46 or 45. So yeah, there's the first serve is the big hammer. So what you're looking for is a balance between, you need to hit it because it will extract return errors. So unreturned first serves are 36%. So basically 1 out of 3 will not come back, but unreturned second serves are only 17%. So you've got this dynamic where, yes, it is good to get more first serves in, but there comes a point where it almost starts to look and feel like a second serve if you're just kind of kicking it in. So it's a balance. Hitting a big first serve will extract more return errors, but you will typically miss more. So everybody's trying to find the sweet spot between those two dynamics.
They sure are. Oh, one thing I did go on your Twitter, I think you also made a point comparing the 2023 Australian Open to 2022, a percentage of points won at the net. I don't know if that's, whatever you're at the net, whether you're serving volleying or you end up at the net on an approach, that was essentially the same as last year.
Yeah. And what I did there is I grabbed some of the players from the first 32 matches that have come to the net the most. Because sometimes when people want to argue against how good the net is, they'll say, well, the more you come in, the less you win. So I got all the guys that have come in a lot, and I think they were at 85%. So the more you come in, the better you are qualified to come in. You've practiced it more. You're better at that tactic.
You know what's also interesting? When I saw your tweet, I went and looked at Andrescu. 83% for her. I think she came in, she won 15 of 18 points when she came to the net. Because I'm like, I think Craig's, I know he's always on top of this stuff. And there it is. That's pretty cool. And
it is.
You know what I mean? Like, I was just, I'm a novice at this stuff, but I'm like, I'm going to just take a random player. I'll take her. I'm like, holy crap, he's on it.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Yeah, you look like you're in the bunker.
Yeah, I am. Marta Kustiak won 11 of 11 at net. Christina Brusco won 10 of 11. Katarina Baindal won 19 of 22 at net. Andrescu 15 of 18. Krichkova 10 of 12. Juvan 10 of 12. Coco Gauff 15 of 19. So there's a lot of players that have done extremely well at the net here.
I guess, well, that would also support your stats. I think it's 70% of the points are won. Well, you'll explain this. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if there's in the first 4 shots, 70% of the points are won. Well, then I should probably get to the net in one of those first 4 shots, or am I? Is that not? Is that not? You know why I'm asking the question? Like, if the first 4, if the first 4 shots are the most important, 70% of the points are won there, then why not go to the net in the first 4? Oh, I lost you on audio. Oh, shoot. Sorry, Craig, I can't hear you. Oh. Hey, Craig. Shit, I can't hear you. Yeah. Oh, shit. Shit.
There we go.
Sorry, Craig. I lost you. I lost you on audio.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay. No, my mistake. So I'm kind of glad I did, because I kind of bungled the question.
Yeah.
If you remember, I was thinking, is it okay if you win 70% of the points are won in the first 4 shots? Then would I be advised to go to the net if possible, and there's first 4 shots, or is that not the way to look at it?
No, that's exactly the way to look at it. In fact, the number 1 rally length where players go to the net the most is a rally length of 3 shots. So that's the serve going in, the return coming back in, then the server following it to the net, and it's either a winner, which makes it a 3, or it's a error in the passing shot, which is the 3rd shot. So it's still a rally length of 3. So yes, the number 1 thing that you want to do, especially with first serves, is bang that first serve, get the short ball back, and come straight to the net.
And is there a way to measure how? Yeah, this is getting really, really in the weeds. When it's considered a pressure point, in other words, break points, did the statistics always hold up, whether it's 40 love, or do they tend to? You know where I'm going.
Yeah, in general, overall, yes, absolutely. Okay. There's going to be outliers where some break points have 30 shot rallies or 20 shot rallies, but there's still a lot of double faults and early errors. So you should be looking to apply pressure at the front of the court, no matter what the score.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. Well, to get you, I said at the beginning, you wear so many hats in the tennis. What is your role for this? The role you're playing now, it looks like you're in the bunker with IBM or whomever
I'm combining journalism and also coaching. So I'm working with the Italian Federation here and several of their players, assisting the coaches, whether they want pre-match or post-match analysis or analysis on upcoming opponents. I'm writing for an Australian newspaper called The Age. I'm writing for a UK magazine, Tennis Head magazine. Also getting data for webinars that I do on my website and courses, and writing on my blog as well on Brain Game Tennis. So that keeps me busy.
So are you, because I can't see that well without my glasses, but if I put them on, then I can't see that well also. It looks like you're, like, when I say you're in a bunker, you look like you're either in a press room or a photographer's room or like an where are you?
I'll just pull this up so you can see a little bit behind me.
Oh my God! Hello, folks. Wow, are you guys? That's ladies and gentlemen, those people are working.
Yeah, this is the media room. So we've all got terminals that have all the analytics. So that the journalists that want to write about the stories, they've got statistics to infuse in there as well. The players are going to talk about the match. You'll put some quotes in there, but you also want to say, if a certain player came to the net more or stayed back more, or what was the strategy that helped them win, and that's what we have here.
I like that press room because it seems really quiet.
It is. It's actually very nice. It's a brand new press room here 2 years ago.
Okay, and I'm guessing also the proximity to where the press conferences are, everything.
Exactly, very close.
Yeah, but I'm surprised. Don't they keep those things at like 65 degrees Fahrenheit?
It's a little. It's not that chilly. It's more in the US where you go outside and you come in. It's a freezing cold meat locker. But today's going to be a very hot day here in Melbourne. It's going to be around 100 Fahrenheit. But it's nice in here.
And I'm going to help the folks out. that would be 36 Celsius.
Yes, there we go.
Well, no, that's because this website's based out of the UK. But the only reason I know that, Craig, is that I live in Mexico now, and if I'm ill and I take my temperature, it's supposed to be around 36. I don't want it to be above that. So that's the only reason I know that. But before, I know you got to get to work. Who are you allowed to say who you're working with player-wise at this tournament, or do you like to keep that under wraps?
Mainly Matteo Berrettini, but there's some others. Just the leading men is who I help the most.
All right. Well, then I'll lose my position in the world of being a podcaster that's trying to represent the Americas. Can you talk a little bit about Felix? Just a general question. He had to play another Canadian last night, and he got a win. Just a quick assessment of Felix. It could be whatever you want. Analytics, personality, what you think he'll do at this tournament. Your thoughts?
I'm just pulling the match up right now.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I've got it right. I've got it right.
Cheat sheet.
It is a cheat sheet. So what's interesting with Felix, he only won 12 of 21 at the net. So, around 50% not so good. And 21 times at net in 4 sets is not so good.
Yeah.
Whereas Vasek Pospisil, the opponent, came to the net 49 times. So, you could see Vasek's coming in. He's applying a lot of pressure. Where Felix did do well was from the back of the court. He won 66 of 132, so that's a little over 50%. Vasek not even close to that. He was 44 of 112. So when points got into a baseline, rally or a pattern of play, Felix was able to do really well there. What's interesting, only 13 aces and 7 doubles, so the serve really wasn't on. And when we look, as you look at the winners and errors, he had 12 forehand winners and only 1 backhand, which is a little unusual. Felix typically will do better off that backhand wing. And the total errors, we've got 91 total errors, which is kind of normal. Tennis, there's a lot of errors in there. So,
and that was a 4-set match with 2 breakers, right?
4-set match, 2 breakers, and the average rally length was 2.95 shots. So Vasek was probably doing all he can to keep those points short so he doesn't get into those protracted long rallies. In fact, there was only 16 rallies that reached double digits out of 277. So
and
what
was the total point differential between the winner and the loser?
3 points, 140 to 137.
I was going to, and that's what I love about the work you do. And I love about this sport. I love telling people, hey, you can actually lose more points, lose more games, and win the match.
Yeah.
I love it and I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I love and what I hate about it, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It's trippy. And this is the thing that, you talked about. You majored in journalism. You weren't a math guy. You weren't like into calculus and quantum physics or whatever. I like it when you're on the chalkboard. You're a guy that I think had a gut feeling, and then you're like, yeah. Like when I would look at stat sheets and I'm like, that guy played better, but he lost. And I'd find out that he won more points and games, but he lost. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what got you to do what you're doing, but I love looking at that stuff. I don't know why.
I'm very inquisitive with these things. I want to know, there's some things in tennis that, we talk about that maybe it's a myth, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, maybe winning the long rallies is the key to winning matches. So I'm like, I don't want to guess. I want to know the answers to these things. And that sends me down a pathway of analyzing all this data and seeing whether the things that we've always thought are correct are actually correct or not.
Yeah. Well, and on that note too, could we just take a peek at what Andreescu did? Because I did mention, and you confirmed it, her coming to the net 18 times and winning 15 of those points. Do you want to just give a little breakdown of what she did?
Absolutely. I've got it right here.
Thank you.
It'll just take me. I just clicked on current year. There we go. So she won 2 and 4. She won 15 of 18 at net. We've already talked about that, so that was good.
Yep.
36 of 71, so a little over 50%. The average for the tournament for the women's going to be about 47%, so pretty good in that statistic. Where she did really well was in the rallies of 0 through 4 shots, so she's plus 10 there. 36
What
to
does that mean to the viewer or listener? Plus
so
10.
so she won 38, the opponent won 28.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the gap between the two. So in the mid-length rallies of 5 to 8, she only won one more point, 17 to 16, and in the long rallies, she won 5 more points. So when Andreescu only hit 2 balls in the court, that was her. When the rally was a maximum of 2 balls in the court for both players, that was her advantage. That's where the plus 10 was. Everything else, she was still positive, but not nearly as much. And if we go to the winners, 23 to 14, 10 off the forehand wing, 6 off the back wing, and overall 18 forehand errors and 16 backhand errors. So pretty even off both sides. There wasn't one side that was more dominant than the other. She can bang the ball hard off both sides and really attack off both wings as well.
Yeah, there's not much she cannot do when healthy.
Yes, very true. Very true.
That's what's so fun about her, apart from the analytics. Kind of going on a different direction, because I haven't talked about many South American players, but Diego Schwartzman is somebody that I want to ask you about, because does size matter? And I don't know if you measure into your analytics, okay, he's really tall, he might not be so tall. Did you? I'm guessing that doesn't matter to you. I mean, why would it?
Diego, what happens in tennis is if you're taller, you are naturally going to have an affinity for winning more serve points.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's the assumption.
That's the assumption. When you're shorter, your serve isn't as strong, but you tend, like Diego Schwartzman, to be much better on the return side. And Diego, in the last 5 years, I believe at least one of the years, he led the tour in return points won. And he's always in the mix with Rafa and Novak. So he is one of the premier returners in our sport. And what he lacks in serve speed, he makes up with in putting a lot of first serves in and doing well on that side. But he breaks you so much that it all evens out. And his size is not a detriment to him at all. In fact, you can have Kevin Anderson and John Isner, 6'9", 6'10", making the top 10 in the world. And you can have Diego Schwartzman. I don't know exactly his height, but 5'5", maybe 5'6", that is a top 10 player as well. So he certainly does extremely well.
Yeah, I wanted to bring him up because he is a South American player, and I don't know, again, you wear so many hats, so you can also speak as a journalist. Diego, I haven't seen results from him that were consistent in the last, maybe before the pandemic or shortly after. Do you think he's, well, what would you say about him? I guess a lot of people like myself, I want to know, is he just in a slump, or what would your assessment be? What's going on with him?
Yeah, I wish I had my finger on the pulse more and I could tell you exactly what's going on, but he's had a history of being streaky, where he can get on a roll.
Okay.
I remember one year he went into Rome and he just hadn't had a great clay court season. All of a sudden did great in Rome and did great at Roland Garros. So he like most players, I think we expect Diego as a top 10 player to be rock solid every week, week in, week out, kind of like a David Ferrer was. But Diego can go up and down like the rest of us. So it just proves that there's, he's human and he's a marvelous player, but there are some ups and downs in his game, no question.
Yeah, it's a question I haven't followed enough, but I like that the answer. He's streaky. I wouldn't have thought of that, but when you say it, it makes sense. Craig, how many weeks of the year are you traveling? When I saw you on many different podcasts the last few years, you're at the Year-End Championship. You seem to be at the majors. What is a typical schedule for you in a given year?
I try and travel as little as I can, actually. I'm not even trying to travel a lot, but there's certain tournaments and events that it's good for me and my business, Brain Gain Tennis, to be at. And an Australian Open is one of them. Wimbledon, the majors are typically that. I work with the Italian Federation, so I'm going to be in Rome. I'm going to be at the year-end finals because they're now also
Yeah.
in Torino and the next gen finals. So I try and find a balance. I don't have to be at them all. Early on, when I was collecting a lot of data, the way to do it was to be at the event. Now I've got a lot and do a lot myself. I don't have to be there as much. But, Indian Wells is always a good event to be there. And there's a lot of business that gets done on site at events. So sometimes being there even for a few days is very worthwhile.
It's funny when we first, well, I believe we first met because I did want to get to that because of Brain Game. I think it was 2005. I think that was around the time that you were using Dartfish, or were they using
Yes.
you? I don't quite remember, but I know that Dartfish it was something, and you had the Brain Game, and you brought in a awesome pitch to Tennis Channel.
Mm-hmm.
It featured a match between Draper and Agassi.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Draper, the Australian, who's
Exactly.
also a hell of a golfer, from what I've
Yes.
read. And I think he beats Agassi in that match, and I also think it happens somewhere in Australia. You might remember better than I.
Yeah. So it was parts of 3 matches. 2 of them were at the Australian Open. One
Okay.
was against Philippoussis and in 2000 in the round of 16, and then the final against Kafelnikov. And then the Draper match was actually the final of Washington
Okay.
that year. And it was to show basically the context was to show how Andre played each opponent differently. And yes, it is about Andre going out there and being Andre and stepping into the ball and taking it early and taking time away from opponents. But the presentation was very much about, he plays Draper this way, he plays Philippoussis this way, and he plays Kafelnikov side to side. So,
and in his press conference after he beat Kafelnikov, he talked more about Yevgeny than himself.
Exactly right. You've got a good memory, Brad.
Yeah,
very good memory.
Thank you. No,
Yes.
it was great. It was a great presentation. I fell in love with what you were doing back then. And I'm like, he's backing it up. You're talking the talk and walking the walk. And that's that. I guess, does that mean? I'll give you the floor on that. Why is Andre talking about Yevgeny Kafelnikov more than himself in that press conference?
It goes back to the question: is it more important to hit the ball where you want to hit it, or more important to hit it where the opponent doesn't want it?
Give them what they don't want.
Give them what they don't want. And that was the premise of all of my coaching. And I learned a lot of that from Andre and a lot from Roger, is to go out there and make the opponent uncomfortable. There's very few times in a year you're going to walk off the court and say, I played absolutely fantastic today. My A game turned up. Everything was good. You're going to win a lot of matches not really playing that great because your opponent is making things difficult for you out there. So it's much easier to relieve the pressure and take the pressure off you and hand it to the opponent and understand that my goal is not to play great tennis today. I hope I do, but my goal is to make my opponent play poorly. That's far more achievable week in and week out.
And why not have? And you were also when I went to your website, I loved your analysis of the Ash Connors 1975 Wimbledon final when you illustrated with the video there that Arthur didn't play his game, so he decided I will win by giving Jimmy what he doesn't want. Those low, no pace slice shots to Jimmy's forehand.
Yes.
And I loved it. That's what. Hey. That still works. That'll always work. So,
yes.
What I'm trying to say, Craig, is you can have your own game, but also have a way to mess them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Your game's not working. Give them what they don't want, and I think that's precisely what value you bring, not only with the analytics, but as an observer of the game, to work with your charge, your players. Say, hey guys, it might not be your day, so just mess their day up.
Yes, very, very true, and that's how I coached my entire career.
As a player at Baylor, right? You played college tennis. Right?
I did. I played at Baylor and had a great time there. I also played junior college tennis out in California at Saddleback. I did a year out there. Greatly enjoyed that as well. So
I think you had some. You being modest, Craig. You did something pretty big there. I mean, on the court.
I I won high doubles in
Yeah.
junior
All
college.
right. That's not easy. Well,
Yeah,
look, mate, I can
that's
see by the time you're in Australia, it's already first ball. So you probably have to, you know, go somewhere. Just one last question.
yes.
What is today like for you, Craig? Is today going to be like every day of the tournament, meaning that you have certain responsibilities with certain people, or do some days it's just spontaneous? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different things. So after this, there's a Tennis Australia function that I do a lot of work with the coaching education. I'm speaking next Tuesday at the symposium, and I'm going to do a quick talk there, and then I'm going to go watch. Mateo's going to play this afternoon, so I want to watch him. Then I'll give an evaluation of that match to his coach. Just another set of eyes on the match. I'll pass on all the analytics as well. So that's the big things that I'm doing today. And other things will pop up during the day. I'm also getting ready for a webinar on Thursday on the forehand playbook. So I've got some hours to put in there as well.
Well, Greg, I promise this will be the last one because he plays
Sure.
Murray. And I'm thinking to myself, one of the things I discovered in researching you is that you could, and I love this. Now today you have the privilege of being there, so you can smell and feel the match and the elements and everything. But you can tell, in most cases, from the statistics, the emotional vibe of a said player, without even seeing video, right? You have a feeling, maybe with the players obviously players you would know, what the emotional situation was like. Or did
Yeah,
I get that wrong?
yeah, no, it's exactly right. So each player, there's going to be certain averages, whether it's serving, returning, rallying, approaching, first serve, second serve, serve direction, that they're going to try and hit. Certain averages that are normal for them. Then you factor in the opponent and what they can give you or not give you. And then you look at those numbers. And sometimes, players that get tight, the double
Mm-hmm.
faults will go way up, or
Mm-hmm.
serve speed will come way down, or they're too
Mm-hmm.
afraid to go to the net. The net points will be lower. The forehand's not producing enough. There's too many backhands that are hit.
Yeah.
So you factor all these things in, and you can know whether the player's playing freely or there's nerves involved. So the analytics can certainly speak to that.
So if we did the Pepsi challenge with you and we blindfolded you and all we gave you was the data versus whether you were there in person, you wouldn't be far off.
Yeah, exactly. We could
You wouldn't.
go
And
through the points. Don't tell me who wins, but let's go
yeah,
through the
yeah,
data and let me explain how the match went. And yeah,
yeah,
that
I
would be
love
fun.
it. But I love you being there more because as a journalist and as a fan of your work,
Hmm.
I want to read what you've written, not when you're looking at a screen of a
Hmm.
match. I want you to tell us about the smells and the sound, the temperature.
Sure.
As you said, it's going to be 100 degrees today. So
Hmm.
with your writing, I prefer that you're there.
It's fun too. It's fun to be in the stands and get to really look and as you said, smell what's going on out there.
Yeah. All right, mate. Hey, thank you very much. I know
My pleasure.
this was great that you squeezed me in. This was a hard get, guys, and worth it.
Brad,
Well worth it.
we've known each other for a long time, and it's great to reconnect. Great to see you
Yeah.
again.
All right. Cheers, mate.
All right.
All
Ciao.
right.
Bye.
All right, folks. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to Quality Shot Tennis. This has been another Wild West Tennis podcast, and it's been a real pleasure. Craig was very busy, probably got him in trouble, kept him over the time limit, but oh well, it happens. Okay, as they say in Australia, good on ya, mate.